Hi, I'm Bob Tabor with LearnVisualStudio.net. In this lesson, we'll refine our search results page by animating the images as they're loading in from Flickr. We want the images to ease in, to fade into view. We also want to provide feedback to the user of the app for long-running operations like retrieving these photos over a slow internet connection by adding a progress indicator like we've done before. And finally, I want to add some feedback in case the user searches their current location and topics and Flickr has no results to return. We don't want to leave the user in the dark waiting for photos to appear that never come, so we'll give them a simple little feedback message. So our game plan in this lesson, first of all, is to modify our long list multi-selectors data template. We're going to prepare the image control for the fade-in effect that we're going to implement. Then we're going to create an animation and storyboard in C# that targets the image control to enable the fade-in effect. We're going to make provisions for the possibility that there are no photos on Flickr that match our search criteria by creating and then hiding a little text block that will unhide whenever there's no photos to show. And then finally, we're going to add a progress indicator that will run while we're performing the web service call to Flickr and loading the images. Again, good visual feedback for the end user. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to want to do is to set the initial opacity attribute of the images in our data template to 0. And so 0 is completely transparent and 1 is completely opaque. So 0.5 would be partially transparent opaque. Then for each image in our data template, as that particular image is downloaded from Flickr, we're going to add an event handler for the image opened event, and the event handler will fire off and we'll write code then to animate the change of opacity from 0 to 1. Okay, so that'll give it that fade in effect over a half second, 1 second, 2 seconds, whatever we decide to set it to. All right, so we're going to make the following changes in the XAML to kind of set things up for the image control. So I need to first of all set the opacity equal to 0. That's a starting point. And then we're going to handle the image opened event handler, and I'm just going to call this image underscore image opened. All right, and let's navigate there. Right click, select navigate to event handler. All right, so here we're going to write some C# code to animate the fade-in effect. Now there's many examples of animation that you'll see that use XAML to define both the storyboard and the animations that are associated with the storyboard. Then use C# code to kick off the animation when a certain event is triggered. And we did that in our previous SoundBoard app that we submitted to the store. And we could do it that way, but we chose to do it with C#. There's actually one advantage for our scenario that kind of requires C#. So we've already talked about the nature of animations and things of that nature. So let's go ahead and just begin by writing the code. So we're going to work with the sender, and the sender should be an image. So image img equals sender as image. We should understand from earlier in the series what that means. We're expecting the object to be an image, so we're going to cast it right off the bat to an image, to a XAML image control. So if the image is null, then we'll just exit out of this return. Okay, that's better. All right, so the next thing we're going to need to do is create a storyboard. So we're going to do this in C#, storyboard, s equals new storyboard. All right, and we're going to have to add a using statement to the system.windows.media.animation namespace. All right, then I'm going to create a double animation, and we'll pair up the animation, which will go from 0 to 1, with to set the opacity of the image, and then we'll pair it up with the image in the storyboard by calling set target and so on. So here we go. Let's create a double animation. We're going to call this double Annie equals new double animation. This double animation is going to be set to 1. So it's currently 0. We're going to set it to 1. And we'll set the duration. So we're going to set it over a period of time. We'll create a new duration object. And the duration takes a time span object. So time span dot from milliseconds. So we'll do it over the course of a half a second, 500 milliseconds. All right. And just for fun, you know what? Don't tell anybody this, but I'm going to change that to 2 seconds, and we can just see it slowly fade in. It'll be a little bit more visible in our videos, but we'll want it to be more subtle. If we were to release this, we want it just to fade in nicely, not just slowly fade in. That would be annoying over time. Okay, so now let's go to the storyboard and set its target. And here's where we take a timeline. Remember that animation objects derive from timeline, so we can give it the double animation that we've already created and set up, and the dependency object, the target. I don't want to talk about what dependency objects are in this series, a little bit of an advanced topic, or dependency properties. Don't want to talk about that at all either, kind of an advanced XAML topic. But in our case, it's easy. It's what we're targeting. It's the image control that we're targeting, okay? So we'll also need to set the target property. What do we want to change? So with the double animation, we want it, and we're going to tell it the path of the property. In other words, the opacity property of our image control. Okay. And we're going to add this double animation to the collection of children that the storyboard owns, and then we'll kick it off like so. So okay, what I'm going to show you on screen right now is approximately the XAML that we could use to do all the storyboard animation stuff that we've written between lines 66 and 77. So it can be much shorter. However, this approach with the XAML is flawed because we would be targeting a single image control. And as far as I know, you can't use a binding expression inside of a storyboard.target name to make it dynamically apply to every image control in our data template. So that's one reason why we're using the C# approach. It'll work better for our purposes here. Okay. Also, I kind of just glanced by the property path XAML syntax. Here's an article so you can read a little bit more about how that works on MSDN. But in a nutshell, the property path is used to specify the property that's the target of the animation. Now we have a simple case, and so for now I think it's just easier to understand that the property path object provides a map to find the property, the dependency property. I don't want to talk about dependency properties, but to find the property that we want to animate. So let's do this. I think we have enough here that we can watch our images fade in. Let's go ahead and run it. All right, and I'm going to go ahead and type food again. Now watch closely as the images come in. They should be animating in over 2 seconds. Yes, see, it all came in slowly. Very nice. So we've satisfied the topic of this lesson, the title of this lesson, but I want to add a few more features into our app while we're in here. We're going to provide some feedback to the user to let them know the status of their searches against the Flickr API. So let's go and exit out of this. And so the first thing I want to do is go to the mainpage.xaml, or actually I want to go to the search results.xaml, and right before the long list multi-selector I'm going to add a text block. So text block name equals no photos found, visibility, visibility equals collapsed, text equals no photos found, and we'll do a little frown face there. And the other thing that I want to do is I'm going to style this, and I'll just use a static resource. Static resource, phone text title to style. Let's see, I've got this all confused here. There we go, much better. And then the next thing that I want to do is I'm going to add a stack panel. And inside that stack panel, I'm going to add a text block. And I'm going to put the text equals loading. So this will tell the user that we're currently trying to load the images. And here I'm going to use a progress bar, but I'm not going to put it inside the system tray. Instead, we're just going to put it here in the stack panel. All right. So let's give it a name. So there's more than one way to work with some of these things. Overlay progress bar. And we talked about is indeterminate before. And we're going to say true. It's not determinate. In other words, we want it just to continue on and on. Okay, so let's adjust the positioning of this. Let's set the vertical alignment equal to the center. And the visibility, I'm going to choose collapse, which means invisible. And let me also give this a name because I think we're going to need to access it programmatically. We'll call this overlay. And then the text block 2, let me set its horizontal alignment equal to the center. Now, in the search results loaded event handler at the very top here, let's go ahead and get rid of this, we don't need that anymore. Let's go overlay, it's the name of our stack panel, dot visibility equals visibility.visible, and let me just get rid of that. I don't think we need that. Okay, so the visibility enumeration, setting it to visible, and then the overlay progress bar, we'll set that to is indeterminate equals true. And so now we're displaying our progress bar, and it is moving dots across the page at a rapid pace. And now what we want to do, at the very bottom here, is we're going to display our no photos found if there are no images returned back from our call to get Flickr images. So if images.count equals 0, then no photos found dot visibility equals visibility dot visible. Otherwise, we don't want to show that. No photos found dot visibility equals visibility dot collapsed. Great. Finally, that overlay that we displayed here, we want to hide it now. So here we go. Overlay dot visibility equals visibility dot collapsed. Great. And finally, overlay progress bar dot is indeterminate equals false. Great. All right, everybody's happy. Good. Let's run it. Let's see what we get. So we want to test both of these scenarios. The first time I'm just going to search for something crazy. Just crazy. Let's see. Hopefully there's no Bob Tabor's photos tagged with Bob Tabor in our results. Okay, so you can see no photos found. Let's go ahead and search again because I missed something here. Let's go Clint Rutkas, search for that. Loading, hey, we got our loading thing. Yep, okay, I didn't catch it the first time, but that absolutely works. Awesome. All right, so just to recap, the big takeaway from this lesson is animation in the Windows Phone API. We created an animation object to control the change of a property over time and pair that animation object with the object and add that pairing to a storyboard. So these little touches that we've added, almost imperceptible, make our app stand out from the competition and earn the respect of our users. We also added feedback to the user about the state of the app while it's making that long call out to the Flickr API. We did that with a progress bar and a message, and let the user know when we couldn't find any Flickr images that matched their criteria. Again, we're trying to consider this from a user's perspective. I've used plenty of apps where I wasn't sure if the app was still working or if it had locked up or whatever. So these little touches help the user gain confidence in the app and enhance their emotional tie to it. All right, we'll continue on in the next lesson. We'll see you there.